Good evening, and welcome to the Master Plan Committee meeting, the initial kickoff meeting, the Master Plan Committee for the Town of Douglas, here Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, here in the Resource Room. It is approximately 7:01 p.m. First item is attendance. We'll just do a little roll call for attendance. I am Matthew Benoit, Community Development Director.
Rich Preston, Planning Board.
Linda Brown, Building, Facilities, Construction Committee.
Maxwell Postma, Select Board.
Mike Zwicker, Planning Board.
Gordon Larrabee, Open Space Committee.
Carol Gogolinsky, Economic Development and Finance Committee.
Got to speak up on those mics, Carol.
Economic Development and Finance Committee.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Someone else.
We just did attendance, so if you want to just,
Oh, sorry. Katie Grace Studley,
the Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So what we'll do first is organization. We'd like to take nominations for chairperson. You can nominate another, or you can nominate yourself, however you'd like to go about that. And Bob Manerick from the Economic Development has just arrived as well.
I'll nominate Bob Preston for chairperson, since he's done this before.
It's a nomination for Richard Preston for chairperson. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. Gogolinsky. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you very much. Thank you. So at this point, I'd like to accept nominations for Vice President.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, excuse me. I get ahead of myself.
I'd like to nominate Carol Gogolinsky.
No.
Come on.
You know how long the last one took? I might not live that long. Mike.
No, I respectfully decline. I can do more back here than I can do in that.
Come on, Carol.
Vice Chair only takes over the meetings when you're.
That's right.
All right.
It's only another 9 years.
Yeah, I know.
I'll second that, if you would like to do it.
Okay? So
All
we
right, I'll do Vice
have
Chair.
a nomination on the table. Do we have any other nominations for Vice President? So then,
Vice Chair.
okay, so I'll close nominations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so all those in favor of Carol Gogolinsky being a Vice Chair of this committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You wouldn't dare, right? Those abstaining? The ayes have it. Thank you, Carol. So, Matt, could you update us on the funding sources?
Well, we needed nominations for secretary also.
Oh, it never ends.
Yes.
All right, sorry. So I would like to open up the floor for nominations for secretary. Do we have any nominations? This means you have to take minutes.
You already do.
I am not a member
I
of
know.
this committee, but
Well, I'm going to raise my hand.
You'll volunteer? All
I
right.
did it for 10 years on Mass.
I know. You know what, though? Are we going to get minutes taken by the professional minutes taker?
I would like that.
I think we should.
I would, but she's really backed up on minutes right now, so I think we should start with the secretary taking minutes and try to work our way.
You know?
We have to approve them anyways, right?
Right,
No.
right,
I guess
And it's
just-
recorded, so
Right.
it's a lot easier than it was.
Right,
back
that's
then.
true. You can go back and look them
Yeah.
up, right? Okay. Well, I'll second, did I second your nomination?
I
I'll
will.
nominate you.
Okay.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Those abstain, the ayes have it. Thank you. Are we done with those?
sure.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? So let's see, a few updates. And then, so what I'd like to do is go through these updates with Matt. Matt has been working very hard on this. And then we could talk a little bit about the master plan, some definitions, what our goals will be, and what we're looking at going forward. So, Matt?
Sure. So the funding sources for this master plan are identified in a contract executed by the town administrator and Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. The funding sources are, we're looking to prepare and submit a grant for the Community One-Stop Grant, an EEA Planning Assistance Grant, and we're also requesting funds at town meeting, I believe in approximately $30,000, which need to be approved at town meeting to engage CMRPC to help us with the master plan as we move forward. So this kickoff meeting is really just kind of to organize and get ourselves situated for when they're ready to arrive. That's CMRPC's involvement. I kind of went right into item B, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. The funding sources and the grant opportunities, we were speaking with a representative from CMRPC recently. Mr. Preston joined me on that call, and we were providing him with all the plans that we've done as part of our master plan, the economic development plan, the open space plan. We had a housing production plan at one point, and I provided them with all those documents so that they have a head start when they're ready to help us after town meeting funding is approved.
And do we have a way we can access these documents too, to refresh our memory? I was
Sure.
going through all the old stuff, I'm going, oh, I don't remember that.
Sure. Sure, I could send those. Absolutely.
So we can get all that stuff electronically now?
Yes.
In the
Yeah.
new world. Okay.
PDF files, sure.
All right, so I'm ready to do the SWOT analysis, if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay. So,
Before you get into that, can you just explain what those two things were that you say that were the funding sources, the grants that we're asking for? What are they? You know, people at home say EEA. Even I don't know what EEA means.
I think one is a state grant, the Community One-Stop Growth.
Right.
And
What does that mean?
Executive Office of Environmental Affairs Planning Assistance Grant, I believe.
So what is a community one-stop growth? What does that mean?
That's just the name of the grant program where we can apply for master plan funding.
Okay.
And then you do June 5th, all the one-stop, because that's what MassWorks is now uploaded, so there's 9 grants.
Okay, what
Which
is,
one is it, Matt, specifically?
I'm not sure. It's just,
Oh, could you fix that microphone? I'm sure nobody at home can hear you.
Oh,
Thank you.
that picks up everything.
and what is EEA?
I believe, I can't remember if that's the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs or if that's Economic Assistance Planning Grant. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But those are the two grants identified with their funding when they submitted this contract to us. But without those grant funds, then we would have to go out for more funds at a future town meeting.
Okay.
So we're really hanging our hat on those
So-
to fund this.
CMRPC will send us that information.
Yes, they're going to apply for the grants for us.
Oh, all right.
Yep. All right, so what we're going to do is called a SWOT analysis. This is kind of an exercise for everybody. So what we're identifying, and you know what? I will read this off in the master plan document, if that's okay. So what is a master plan and why is it needed? A master plan is a statement of intent intended to serve a whole community, guiding its overall character, physical form, and evolution. It describes where, how, and at what pace a community wants to develop physically, economically, and socially. A master plan guides local officials, town meeting members, when they make decisions about zoning, budgets, and capital improvements. This document acts as a guiding force for any planning that is to occur within the town in the future. However, the plan recommendations do not automatically advance any specific item. Many topics and actions can and should be coordinated and implemented together. So, under MGL, Chapter 4181D, planning boards must prepare a master plan for their communities. These roadmaps are living documents and must be updated periodically. Our last one was 1998, so it's typically every 20 years, so we're a little overdue for this. CMRPC can assist the town in updating its master plan to reflect the changes in community trends since 1998 and achievements under previous plans, and to establish community objectives and action items. Master plan lays out community's vision for its shared future, creates a roadmap of goals and actions, and should be used as a resource and manual for town officials in creating projects. Master plan should be used for assessing funding requests and evaluating the importance and priority of initiatives. The chapters of master plan are as follows. Its goals and policy statement, land use, housing, economic development, natural and cultural resources, open space and recreation, services and facilities, circulation, and then implementation. The process in and of itself encourages a dialogue about a community's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths, weaknesses. Opportunities.
Isn't a SWOT typically done in a square?
Yes.
Okay.
but I am not doing a square.
Nope, that's fine. Utilizing the space on the whiteboard best.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, what we'll talk about is what are some of Douglas's strengths? What are some of the strengths? And I'll start saying community. You guys seem to have a very well-knit community that seems to care a lot about this town. I'll take any other suggestions that you may have.
Tons of open space or state forest.
State forest is a strength.
I would stick with state forest and not state open space. I think we're kind of lacking in open space, to be honest.
State forest is open space.
Yeah.
It is, but it's only one type of
And
open
in fact,
space.
that's what, isn't that
We don't
what
own
it says
it.
on the zoning too?
It's only one type of open space.
Recreational resources, sports, what have you.
Recreational resources.
Access to Route 146 and I-395.
Right? Good geographic location.
Transportation access to highways.
Don't write too small over there.
Take the smaller and smaller, man.
Be in the other block.
All right.
What does that say? It is too far for me. What-
Transportation access to highways.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Any other strengths? You can talk about town departments,
We have
tiers.
a lot of water-based resources. And we have Mumford River, we have some water bodies, we have a lot of wetlands.
Resources used in what manner, though?
So, as
No
an
pu- no
example,
public access.
when we were having a discussion about the power plant they wanted to put in Rhode Island,
Yeah.
one of the reasons they wanted to locate it there was take water out of Wellham Lake, which was something that we didn't want because it would have actually been too much, but it is a resource that we have that we should either decide to utilize or protect. Or both, right? How do we balance that?
Right, well, there's strengths, but there's no public access to any of the public water in this town,
Except for Wellham Lake.
except for Wallem Lake, which
Right,
is in
so
the state
that's
park.
actually something I've seen Open Space has tried to get access to a public beach a few times. And so then in that sense, it's an untapped resource.
Should that be considered a weakness or an opportunity, perhaps?
So there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
both.
run into, yeah. So we have a lot of water-based spaces, but right now, well, the only other public access would technically be the water slides.
Which is still private.
Yep.
It's privately owned, but
Correct,
it is public access if you pay.
if you pay.
Right.
Okay. How does the town feel about its highway department and its fixing the roadways, keeping the roads clear?
I actually think they're good.
Yeah,
Oh, they're so much improved.
yeah.
Oh, my
I think
God.
you're good,
Yeah.
considering the
The budget.
amount of roads that they have to take care of and the small budget that they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So roads, bridges, and sidewalks, certainly. Although they were talking during the last master plan, that they were going to try to extend the sidewalk up Main Street
Yeah, and
a
then we
little
got the
further.
price.
Yeah.
I think
Dreams are free.
a major weakness is bridge crossings over the river with weight. Right now, you have so much weight restriction and antiquated bridges that it's a hindrance to the town.
Even the culverts, a lot of them are undersized or weak. Yeah.
They were designed for a horse and buggy and not a 80,000-pound tractor.
Call it wetland crossings. Culverts.
You know, it's interesting, a lot of these items can have both strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, absolutely.
You're
That's
right.
why
Really,
we
yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Writing small again, Matt.
I'm sorry.
Did you get the one? It's wetland crossings and culverts.
Culverts, yeah, I couldn't make that
I think
out.
it's part of weakness. I think something that needs to be addressed is Route 16 traffic flow.
Through downtown?
Downtown.
All through Route 16, the
Actually,
traffic
yeah.
pressure is tough, and it's only going to
Well,
increase.
Once you get to the schools, then it's clear.
Well, and I thought they did a nice job when the state did the section from, essentially from the blinking light past the Common to Webster, where it goes to the state forest. They did a really nice job putting in swales and making it wider and putting the reflectors on and the guardrails.
Yeah.
That's still fairly smooth.
Yeah, that's 7 years old, too. That road held up good.
Yeah.
But I do think
They
the
spent a lot of work on it.
width of the road in places is fairly narrow.
Yeah.
As I said, the
Yep.
traffic count's increasing and going to increase exponentially in future.
If you go to,
Say like the walkability of the town?
Slows down the traffic. So if you get an automatic traffic slowdown by the roads being narrow, so in some ways it's not that bad.
It depends what your zoning is.
there again, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
There is no zoning on the development for the width of the road. It's been in discussion in the planning board. In reality, I think they should be, we figure out a width.
There is
So that-
width on them on the planning board.
No, there's not.
Yeah, there's a,
Yeah, there is.
Easement, but not road width.
right,
Nothing for actual
yeah, there's no
road.
actual road width in the subdivision regs.
None whatsoever. So the problem is developers come in, want these little roads, because
Yeah.
of cost, until you start getting snowstorms, where do you put it? So now you have issues.
Yeah.
You go anyplace else, go south, go anywhere, the roads are nice and wide, they're made accessible,
But-
open.
Have you ever been to Pine Hills?
Where?
Pine Hills in Plymouth. It's an award-winning development.
Yeah.
And it's gotten awards throughout the whole country. And the difference they did there was they made the roads narrower because it slows it down. They're narrowed and they're curved, and the speed limit is 20 miles an hour when you're going through
Yeah.
that development, and you don't feel like you're going too slow. So, these wide roads are thoughts that are passé in a lot of ways.
No, it can make sense, the smart development makes sense, but then you have to think, where's the snow going to go?
Right.
That's the
But
thing
you don't necessarily have to have it paved for where the snow gets plowed,
Correct.
you know?
You
And-
do when
and
the
then-
when the trees are on the road,
Well, you don't have to put the trees there then.
huh?
Don't put trees there.
No, but if you drive around the town, you're talking about weaknesses.
Yeah.
Drive out to Whittier Farm.
Northwest
Look
Maine.
look at the trees are caught by trucks every day, I drive it every day.
Yeah.
In reality, it's a joke,
Well, there's the
because the
difference.
tree is on the road.
But there's the difference. That's a road that's people are using to travel. It's not within a subdivision.
Right.
Right, but they're talking about weaknesses.
Right.
The traveled roads in
Right.
this town,
Yeah.
which are used by everybody that
Right.
works, at times are dangerous because of that.
Right.
So here's the paradox. How do you accommodate traffic pressure without speeding and reduce speeding
Right.
through town? You want people to get through safely, conveniently, for all intents and purposes, as you can get through a downtown conveniently, but speeding is an issue through town, too.
It is, but the thing is, I don't care where you go in this country, you're gonna have it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to say, no different than saying about drunk drivers. We've talked about drunk drivers forever. Still happens every day, right? Speeding, as long as there's an automobile, they've gone fast, people drive fast.
Yeah.
So there's a thing of being, I understand the point, but there again, you gotta look at reality. If you're gonna speed, I don't care if the road is 8 feet wide or 40 feet wide, you're still gonna speed.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of compare and contrast, say,
And the thing
Route
with the-
16 near Webster, that, the police chiefs always see that as our speedway, because it's wide, it's open.
Right.
There are not a lot of houses.
Straight
It's downtown, it's downtown that's a problem, yeah, because it's so, the higher population and what have you,
But-
it's narrower.
These narrow roads around here, everybody's on bikes, everybody walks.
Yeah, they're
Everybody has their
not-
dogs, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And the thing is you have 2 cars,
Yep.
what, you're gonna throw them in the ditch?
The back roads don't accommodate bicycle and pedestrian traffic. There's no room for them at all.
Out where I'm at, I mean, every weekend there's a pile of them that run the road,
Yeah.
which they have the right to.
Yeah.
But the idea is the roads are so narrow, 2 cars meet, You got a
If
traffic jam, they can't do nothing.
So how do you accommodate that unless you have resources? Actually, that's a good,
Right,
resources, bike path,
Yeah,
horse path.
well, they'll never
off-road
run the
path.
bike path because they always ride the roads,
Yeah,
which is their right.
yeah.
But the idea is moving forward, if you're looking at improvement on roads, you're thinking about, you don't keep it 18 feet wide, can we have the affordability to make it 20 feet wide?
Yeah.
Would you say that the trail system in town is a strength? The,
I think it's,
As,
Yeah.
as such,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. As a trail system,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they have
Yeah.
a lot of trails.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's mostly in the state forest.
Yeah.
Correct, you can't go to work that way, unless you conveniently work
It's-
at
it's for
Thompson, right?
recreation.
Right, it's great recreation.
Yeah, the trail.
Going nowhere in
Don't have-
particular.
There's no commutability, because where are you going to go?
So you're talking about road system or trail system?
Trail system.
Rail
is
trails,
an
to
asset.
be more
Right.
specific.
As an asset.
What trails are you specifically talking about? You've lost me.
The railroad bed.
Well, then put the SNET.
SNET.
Then there's a lot
It's
of,
not called the trail system.
there's
It's
loads of,
Specifically,
loads of trails up through the state forest.
that's state forest, yeah.
What's wrong with that? We have
No, I'm
access
not
to it
saying
all,
anything's wrong with that,
you know?
but there's nothing we can do or
But on that
say where they
aspect is
put the
parking.
trails.
What,
They have all these trails across the causeway,
yeah.
where they all park, all over the road. You got the trees there, so then you're trying to advocate for trails, but you don't give people a place to park.
Right.
Well, there are several. We got one right up on Depot Street.
What's
Look at
that?
their
The parking area for the trail.
parking area.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is areas that are great congestion is you're right at the entrance of the causeway. And they almost block it.
Oh, yeah.
To
that's
use all
always
the
been a
trails.
problem.
Yeah. Well, you know what, everybody's going up to look at that beaver dam.
Yeah.
Years ago, there
Everything.
wasn't that many people going up there because there wasn't anything to see. Now everybody's heard about them, you know,
Yeah.
the Hoover Beaver Dam up there.
Yeah.
There's a picnic area there, too.
Right, right,
People spend the day.
yeah,
So further up the street where they unload the horses, there's plenty of space.
right.
Yeah,
But down at the bottom where everybody goes,
Right.
there's absolutely nothing.
Well, it's
Yeah.
state forest, so they could actually increase the size of that parking.
They could, yeah.
I mean, it's not, I mean, there's plenty of space to do it. It's not like there's, I know that open space is looking to, somebody gave you some land over there, I guess on Southeast Main Street, because there's no parking. But you only
Right.
got a little space. Well, that's the state forest. There's loads of space there.
The only one I think is lacking is off the SNET, is the old railroad bridge, Wallem Lake Road. You can't park and.
you can't, you have to park in the state
nowhere.
forest.
Right.
Yeah, and that's quite a hike. If
Yeah.
you park there and think you're going to get to the
Yeah,
SNET.
that is,
Or Franklin Street, there's really no parking
Nope.
to it
Right.
through there.
no, that's not too far from the, right here.
And
Yeah.
then some of them that the Thompson Road, there's no park. really
There's no
not too
parking for
much
those
parking
trailheads at
there.
all.
But I don't see that many people hiking up in that area. I finally always wanted to go on the big fill, and I finally
You go
did.
there on a weekend.
Yeah.
If
It's
I
busy.
started walking
Yeah.
the trails,
It got busy in the
Yeah.
last few years,
Yeah.
and they added more trails, and they
Oh,
added
yeah.
more signage, and they made it more accessible, which is all great things.
Right.
But they did not increase the size of the parking.
And
now
that's-
that is a huge wide road.
It is a
That
huge
is
wide road,
enormous.
though.
Yeah.
It is, which
Plenty of place to
accommodates the
park on.
parking
Right.
without the
Yeah.
park, like you were saying.
Right. But that's the thing, everybody wants all this stuff, but nobody thinks about where you're gonna put the people. They have to show up, they're not gonna walk there. Everybody knows they're gonna drive there.
To walk.
There's a lot of bikers,
Yep.
I've seen.
Yeah, they unload the bikes, even on the causeway, kayaks.
Yeah.
They'll take the kayaks off, go up in the little pond,
Yep.
and they'll go out there messing around, you know, which is
There's
great.
a little parking on the other end of Ridge Trail, but even that's not very big.
So it sounds like we have a lot of resources there, but it's just a matter of addressing parking and traffic
Well,
in
and some of
in
those-
collaboration with the state.
Are the, yeah,
Right,
they're,
yes.
yes. But there are other open space areas that were, like I was referring to earlier, that we do have that are limited either in their awareness, maybe we don't want too many people there at one time, maybe we size the parking to fit the amount of people that should be in a space at a given time. But yeah, anytime we allocate a conservation space, there has to be, parking for it, indoor signage or indoor boundaries marked, so they're not wandering onto private property. So I think that that's one of our opportunities.
Yes.
Is open space. A lot of times when we're working with these developers, sometimes they'll have a wetlands area and they'll say, oh, we'll donate that to open space, or we'll set that aside
Right.
as conservation land. And in order to take advantage of it, you need to have a little bit of
Access.
front access, parking, that kind of thing. So I think that Yes, I think that's a good way to say, open
Yeah.
space
I
preservation
think
and,
that's our flexible development bylaw that allows for 50% of the land to be open space.
Like the Sutton Douglas project was a lot of open space
okay.
for that one.
I almost put that in here.
What project?
The Sutton Douglas housing development,
Oh, okay.
there was a lot of open space.
Yeah, that area had a lot of waterways and a lot of wetlands that we wanted to protect.
Preservation Park area, that's the one
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Backs up into that, I think, right?
This is the one access is gonna come off the Vol.
Right, but I think it backs up to Preservation Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
The infamous 110
Woods.
acres that we never got.
So any other weaknesses you'd
Yeah,
like
that's
to?
Yes,
supposed to be
that
Conservation
too.
Drive.
I think in some areas is natural gas.
Oh, yeah.
That's a strength.
That's something that,
Well, it's an opportunity, right?
We don't have that yet.
Well,
It's in the town, it's not,
Yeah.
We got
It's-
franchised, then it's 2 Main Street.
Yeah.
or it's-
right. I
Right.
think it's
Be
both
stretching
weakness
it
and
soon.
opportunity to help,
I say that's.
even with the water, which has slowly been, because you're never gonna attract anybody if you don't have a water and sewer.
I also think that the quality of our water has decreased. There's a lot more chlorine in the town water than there ever used to be.
I don't
Oh,
think there's
yeah.
any. I don't think they put chlorine on it.
I can
Oh,
smell it.
yeah. My
Really?
I
mother's
have to,
house
I
next
never
door.
had to filter it
Oh, you
before.
can't do now then. 'cause
Oh,
they
my
never
whole
used to.
life, we had the number 2 best
Yeah.
tasting quality
Yeah,
water in
right.
the entire state when I was growing up. My Uncle Nettie used to work at the water plant, and now I run the water and it smells like a pool, it smells like a swimming pool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know it's because we're getting a lot more nitrates and phosphates into our waterways, and therefore you have a lot more chance of bacteria, and therefore you have to put more chlorine in to kill the bacteria.
Well, one of the things somebody from the water department told me a number of years ago was once you have a certain amount of people who are drinking out of the water system, then they have to start doing the
It's mandated.
fluoridation.
Higher standards.
And I remember saying to him, and these might not be the right, so you can poison 5,000 people, but not 5,001, I don't know.
It's probably something like that. No, I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that that's part of it. Also, the population density means that you have more fertilizer, whatever, infiltrating into your water supply.
The water quality, do you mean drinking water quality?
I think it should specify drinking water quality.
Okay.
Although, some of our other water quality is also at risk. Anytime that we're doing a lot of building near, like, say, the Mumford River, that impacts the overall water quality of the entire Blackstone Valley. And we've seen that decrease with more runoff, with more stormwater, or with more development.
You know what
I think there's a-
You know what I have seen that has decreased the water quality? Beavers.
Really?
Oh, when I first was at the reservoir, the water was crystal clear, okay? I got some steps that go down in the water, they were always clear. Well, now you get this, it's like a sediment. It's like crushed up leaves. Well, what happens is the beavers, they build it all up into the woods, and then when you get a big rainstorm, all of that is coming down. And my cousin lives in South Douglas, he had a beautiful brook by his house for years. He lived there for 40 years. And he said, the brook was looking, how come the brook isn't clean anymore? So he sent his son to see what was going on. There's seven dams above him, all full of beaver
That's
dams.
interesting.
With all the water going into the woods. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, just go over by, the boys.
Typically, beaver dams clarify the water downstream. That's
You know,
typically
they
not
don't
the case.
clarify the water that's going in the res. I have to literally go out and sweep my steps that are in the
Because
water.
you're getting leaf litter.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're not big like leaves, they're like ground up leaves, it's like, because it's just, and, you go up by where the Boy Scout place is over there, the old pastime club and everything, that water is coming across the road now.
Yeah.
It's going across the road any day now, and it's like, I mean, it's all just sitting there and getting all that mushed up stuff, and then every time you get then it starts going down, and it's,
Well, that's another one that we've had issues with,
Yeah.
we talk about at Concom all the time, is stormwater management, right? So especially with both of the solar farms.
right. Well, there's no way you're going to manage the beavers
No, and that's what it
They're
is.
not going to do anything.
They've already been
Stormwater
here.
management don't mean much to them.
Circling back to the water, I think it's interesting because our aquifer that feeds our wells
Yeah,
is under the entire town,
yep,
and there's an awful lot of exposure there.
yeah.
That like a threat?
It's not under the entire town,
Yeah,
Rich.
I'm sorry?
It's not under the entire town.
Oh,
There's
it's pretty
certain
large.
areas where it is.
Well, there's a lot of recharge areas, tertiary areas,
Right,
but
but-
most of it goes under the Route
but it-
16, too.
But it doesn't, it's not really under the entire
But what
town.
I'm saying is, if you look at the entirety of it,
It's a lot of
there's the
area.
potential for exposure to
Yeah.
who knows what, but I don't think that's fixable immediately.
Well, I mean, your most likely are your nitrates and your phosphates, which is just gonna, your bacteria levels, potentially. So,
Like one weakness, if I could, underutilized municipal properties. We've got some older ones that, could be wonderful if there was an adaptive reuse there, but they've been sitting idle. The
Oh,
old
like
elementary school,
I know.
the
Yep.
Fire King Fire Station.
Everybody's
VFW?
been trying, I
Yep.
know, been trying for years to find somebody for these
Spinning our
things.
wheels on those, Carol.
I know. You know what? We're going to knock it down and then we'll find a use for it.
well,
And the thing is, on that aspect, I think there should be a time limit. If there's a vacant building, if nothing happens in so many years, it's torn down. The reason being is your cost of keeping it up far surpasses anything you will ever make on that property.
yeah, you get into,
So you might as well just take the $100 bills and burn them now and be done with it, because that's all you're doing.
You know, sometimes you got to think too about the history and the character. I mean,
I understand, but if it just sits there,
sometimes it's not just
it's a waste,
just that.
you know?
That building would be a good medical facility.
I mean, that old school is, I mean, you don't have anything else in town that's got architecture as pretty as that.
20 years ago, we had an engineer come in, structural
Right.
engineer, and he did a complete study of all the buildings in
Right.
towns. This is on about 2000.
Yeah.
And the one he thought was most robust was the old elementary school.
Yeah.
Right.
Compared to all the
It
schools,
was
new
still
and
in
old.
great shape.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the only thing we did was put a roof on
We
years
put a
ago,
roof on it and got the pigeons out of it.
Right.
and the haunted house.
So how many years has it been vacant?
Oh,
Make it
70s?
for a long time.
80,
Yeah.
1980, 81?
So, I understand about the architecture, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Want to save a piece of it, take it. It's doing absolutely nothing for anybody but a burden,
Yeah.
yep,
because it's going to need another roof
yep.
sooner or later. It's still going to be maintained.
Yeah.
Well, the Building and Facilities Committee recently, a few months ago, did a tour of all these vacant buildings.
Yeah.
We walked inside, and Adam Furno came with us. There are no leaks.
Right,
The brick is beautiful.
Right.
There's just a couple little spots
Yeah.
that need pointing.
yeah.
So what are we trying to do? Are we, I mean, I
So-
don't want to delve into this one problem without
Yeah.
covering the rest of our
Right.
thing. But just for my understanding, is it the town's intent to sell, or is it the town's intent to use it for a town purpose, or like either
No,
one?
we discussed it, and we think selling it.
Selling it.
Okay,
Yeah.
nope, that's fine.
Because you know what happens, when you try to do something like yourself, you're under prevailing wage, it's going to cost you 3 times as much.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
to get somebody to come in there and do it,
so it should have a big for sale sign on the front.
should really, or we need to market it more through Facebook or
I
something.
had no idea it was for sale.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've walked a few companies through, they never
Okay.
took the bait.
I mean-
So there was an interest, but it never made it to the purchase and sale.
if we could.
Do you know
get
why that, if I could, do you get any idea why that was?
I think road
They
access.
located somewhere else outside of Douglas.
But was there something about the building and the location that was not,
The building itself doesn't have frontage on a way,
okay?
so it needs the road to be accepted up to a certain point to give it adequate frontage on a way. Right now, it's just abutting an easement, so it's almost considered landlocked.
But that could be
That's it.
taken care
Oh,
of.
wow.
And we
See
do
if we
have
can
land
find
on the other side of the road, but Gleason Court bisects the lot, so it would have to be fixed at town meeting
Right.
to figure that out.
So we went out and got some estimates for what that would cost to extend the road right away, and we'll see how that goes, but.
Working on it?
Yep.
We could talk all night on most of these items.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Anything else?
So, how do we feel about the residential tax base? Strength or weakness?
The tax base is okay. I do think that the taxpayers are resistant to pay taxes,
Say like,
which is fair. I mean, that's true everywhere. I'm
so I
not,
know the residential takes on most of the burden for the
Right.
tax base, although economic development is slowly chipping away at that.
Right.
So where would we consider that as part of
On
this?
the high end of the tax base, I would think.
I'd say opportunities for economic development.
To lower the tax base?
Or pay for projects that
Right.
are in front of us right now, like the highway building, that'll be a $20, $30 million project.
yeah,
You either raise taxes or you increase revenue from another source.
the taxes
commercial.
never go down. Once your taxes have gone up, and then you even get more revenue, you end up having to spend it on something, so.
This is an aside, but I'd love to see a chain grocery store or a chain drugstore come into town,
They need-
too.
we look-
Because we have to go out of town for most everything.
Yeah.
You could
Carol
build
and I
your,
looked at that when we were on the
We don't have
Economic
enough
Development
rooftops
Commission.
yet.
really,
They won't even look at you. You don't have
even with
enough
Route 16 and 146.
10,000
those
people is what they're
developments-
looking for.
Yep.
Is it partly, I mean, it's just conjecture, because I noticed we have a lot of development, right? Because I see all these little house lots going, is it we
Right.
just don't have as much like high-density housing?
We just don't have enough.
Housing of any kind?
Population,
Okay,
Well, we get,
bodies.
if you got, increase the population, then you'd probably get that stuff. I know, I wanted a head of lettuce today.
yeah.
I had to go to Whitensville.
But there's your double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
from 8,000 to 10,000, we'll get a supermarket, but now it's crowded.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got to, now you got to upsize your schools, right, and everything else, and
Well-
everything goes up.
Schools
you
have the
realize-
capacity right now. I believe
Okay.
what, that
The schools.
two-third capacity?
The schools are down over 25% from where they were 10 years ago. We're down over 500 students.
Interesting.
And it's
know
not
this.
school choice, because we actually
No.
have more kids choosing into Douglas than's going out. But Douglas is not the only place. Even
No, I know.
Northbridge is having a declining population, and they got all that stuff in new housing and new village.
What is-
People are not having children.
Well, no, that's fair. I have noticed, I know that from a,
Yeah, and people are not getting married, they're not having children.
Is it the water?
it could be the water.
Cell phones.
It's the trails.
They'd rather, I'm telling you, people rather play with their cell phone than, that's what.
Make children.
What is the population now, right, as it stands? Do we know?
I
8,300?
think we're at 9,100.
Oh, now,
Okay.
we're coming. to
We
a
made it
magic
up.
number.
Yeah.
Put up.
Okay.
All right.
So I put a weakness as we are less than 10% affordable housing, so we're
Agreed.
susceptible to
Right.
40B projects.
Yeah.
So that is a weakness.
I think we're about, what, 4 or 5%?
I don't even think we're that high.
Okay.
And like on the grocery store deal, I'm telling you right now, we have one on 395,
Yep.
one on 146.
2 on 390.
You are not going to get one of them.
No.
That's really la-la land. You think you're going to be a grocery store with one in each side of you.
Then they're going to put a big one in Uxbridge, then they'll have 2 in Uxbridge.
Yeah.
One in
So-
Northbridge, one in Oxford, one in
And the
Webster.
same thing with CVS. The CVS owner owns the one in Uxbridge, Webster, and Oxford.
Yeah.
We
In
approached
Northbridge
him
too, right?
in Northbridge.
Northbridge too?
He owns all 4. So
Oh,
he
yeah.
said, why would I build one in Douglas
Right.
Yeah,
when
no,
the
that's
same
fair.
people I have in Douglas are visiting my other 4 stores?
And not only that, anybody from Douglas, for the most part, you either need to get on 395 or 146 to go to
To
work.
go anywhere else.
So you have to drive by all those facilities
Yep, to go,
to go anywhere. You're not going to come home and say, I'm going to go on the other side of town because it's a new store.
unless
No,
you need.
you're going to
that
stop
head
on
of
your way
lettuce.
going home.
Unless you need that head of lettuce after.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Now people are getting all their stuff delivered too. If it's not food,
Yeah.
people are getting
Yeah.
That's true.
all kind of stuff
Well, that's-
delivered, and that's a lot of people on the roads. I don't know where it would fall in this, but like the 2 things that are, I guess, like global changes we've experienced, one was the stormwater, and one is everybody's getting stuff delivered, and
Oh, I
now
know.
there's a whole bunch of delivery trucks all over the
Yep.
road too.
Yeah,
On narrow little roads.
Yep,
So I just wrote down as a weakness is national grid capacity for electrification. We just had a meeting with a solar provider who explained that there is no capacity on our lines for electrification. And I'm sure as cars become further electrified and people need to put chargers on their own property and stuff. There's no capacity on our lines right now,
Right.
Personally,
so that is an issue.
the electric cars we see in our industry, they're not gonna make it. Hydrogen cars are gonna be the mainstay,
Well, how do you make hydrogen?
Water.
the hydrogen vehicle.
Electric.
engine.
Bob Sullivan and
plug-
I went to a.
Yeah, it ain't, the electric in the cold weather, that's why our equipment, none of it is electric. It doesn't work in the cold.
Right.
We were
But
looking
people
at
still use it at their
developing,
house.
You have no capacity.
we're looking at developing the Buckeye property on Main Street, the one where there's an old bit of equipment under the utility line, and I'm not sure it was part of the gas pipeline
Oh, okay.
station.
Yeah.
And we were looking at putting solar on it, and the solar consultant said, there's no way, we can't get a line there
Right.
that would meet capacity for you. So that idea was shot down.
Right.
Right, because
Right away.
decentralizing the electric grid as a whole would make our electric system a lot more powerful and more resilient, and it
Yeah.
just doesn't have the capacity for it.
And one of the things is there's substations in Uxbridge, there's one in Northbridge, but there's nothing in Douglas.
No.
Yep.
So we're going to run out of capacity real soon unless we get some sort of substation. And I would consider that an opportunity for us to explore.
Right, and that's the thing, when people say, well, we'll put the solar on the roof and we'll have the electric car charger. People don't realize, that solar on the roof, it's not going in your house, it's got to go in those lines.
It goes back,
Yeah, go back.
right.
Yeah.
It doesn't go
And
in
that's,
your
because
house.
the grid's very like one-way
Right.
oriented, it
And
needs to be more like a
And the
web.
grid can't take it,
It can't.
it's the problem.
And on that same aspect, I think in this area, the loss of power is greater than most areas. Reason being is most of these streets are single-line feed.
Yeah,
It isn't like in the city, power goes out, they just backfeed from another
Right,
area.
right.
There is none of that.
yeah.
So your electric
Very,
supply is very, very limited.
And we are at the end of all the feeder lines.
Are we?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
If we knew the substation in Uxbridge, they'd drive another line in.
You were saying you and Bob Sullivan,
Yeah, Bob Sullivan and I attended a National Grid Conference 2 weeks ago in Franklin.
Yeah.
And they discussed a lot of this, where Douglas is at the end of these feeder lines. Just that the Cubic Gilboa project, they needed 4,000 amps. They had to run a special line from Uxbridge along Old Hartford Ave just to feed that building.
wow,
The Tri-Town warehouse on the other side of 146, same thing. They had down Lackey Dam Road, they had to run a feeder line down just to feed that, 4,000 amps.
wow,
The Pine project upcoming will probably be 12,000 amps.
wow,
Yeah.
And it takes years for grid to design this stuff.
yeah.
There's a lot of engineering.
Because it doesn't come in from, none of the power comes in from Webster or Oxford. It comes in from Uxbridge, Sutton, and Northbridge.
What is that one you just wrote?
Natural gas is available as a strength.
Do we know where we are with fiber optics?
I don't believe we do.
There's nothing in town yet?
I don't think there's,
That's probably a weakness for
Fios.
businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weakness, certainly.
And considering how many network drops a modern business would need, since everybody's got remote work and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, we're certainly the poor child. when it comes to
I know
fiber
that,
optics.
that company I work for was looking, I work at Electric Boat down in southern Connecticut. We were looking at moving some offices into the Pfizer building, and they didn't have enough network drops.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that with the satellites, as I know that they're doing so much with the satellites now over the fiber optics, that I'm not sure that they're going to be using.
The fiber optics is so much faster than over air.
Well, it probably is now, but if they get enough satellites up there.
We're not going to be able to see the sky anymore. Yeah, no, I understood. I think that
I-
will take more and more people rely on wireless. But for a business,
Yeah.
I think
They
that they're
need fiber.
always going to prefer fiber.
They need
Because everything's going to
Yeah.
this,
But an individual person, yeah, I think you'll see people, going back and forth between that they need. Well, because every time the satellites catch up, the demand goes up. We find some other news, right? We were all set, and then we all decided that we wanted to video chat to every coworker we have at the same time.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so,
I
under
just
this,
added a threat for increase in traffic,
Yeah, fair.
expecting that. I assume that's kind of a threat for us.
yes,
The threats increase in traffic with insufficient roadways.
Yeah.
If you had sufficient roadways, then it wouldn't be such a threat. That was like, remember we were talking about the bridge?
Yeah.
And you thought it was the one? I said, no, that's a light bridge. You have to go down that little back road to just try to cross the river.
Yep.
How about supporting large trucks coming through town? I know that trucks can be tougher on roads, much tougher on roads, tractor-trailer trucks.
Yeah.
And we got some barreling through town. It's frightening. I just know those guys can't stop on a dime if they've got a load in that truck, and we're only going to get more. It's to be anticipated.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And are you saying insufficient, like truck routing specifically?
And I know they're talking about up here, the trucks exiting out 146.
Yeah.
My concern is if they're west of town, I think they're going to be coming through town more than likely.
Oh, yeah, I've
may.
been saying that, right along.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about a fantasy, how it's gonna work, but I try to lay it out as, you want the real world? If it's a short route, they're gonna take it.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says, they're gonna take the shortest route.
They use.
Fuel at
Southeast
$4 or $5
Maine.
a gallon,
Yeah.
and you're getting 3 miles at a gallon, if you can save 10 miles, you just save $20.
Yeah.
Or even 20 minutes, trying to figure out how to get through downtown Douglas. They cut off through southeast Maine, and they are not going slow. They go right by my house.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's
yeah,
almost
no.
like they're airborne.
yeah.
I just added EMS services to strengths. I'd say our police,
Oh, yeah.
fire
No,
department
they're-
services are quite a strength in this town.
Sure.
We have a fantastic ambulance service now.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good.
It's centrally located, too.
Right.
So it's equidistant to any spot in town.
I can
The
remember,
fire barn is a strength, it's sufficient, correct?
The
Or am I
what?
wrong with
The
that?
fire station,
well, they
I
say,
call it fire
fire
barn.
barn, because
Yeah, the fire barn
I thought he
is,
said highway
that's,
behind, I was going to say way.
that's been a liability.
that's sufficient, though, right?
right, well, I don't know, they're saying they need more space.
Yeah, they,
But that can be added on to that
They
building.
have room, yeah.
They are starting to do that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a good strength.
What about the transfer station? I like the transfer station, but I'm somebody who drives there with the dump sticker. I don't know what other people think
I
about.
use it, I think it's great.
I like the transfer
In the
station. I think
summertime,
they're
I
doing a
go
good
3
job.
times a week. In the winter, I maybe go twice a month.
And they were doing pretty good with the, I mean, I realize nobody's taking the recycling anymore, but they were pretty good about, having it available.
Yeah. No, I think they do a good job at the transfer station.
Yeah, I agree.
is that an active landfill? No.
No.
right?
No,
Okay.
Transfer.
Capped.
it gets trashed, it
Okay.
gets
Somewhere
taken
else.
somewhere else.
Okay.
We never see it again.
The old Douglas landfill was capped.
Correct.
right?
Yep.
That's, okay. Okay.
Anything else?
I'm just giving you a heads up, I have to head out around 8, just 'cause that's how long I have childcare. But it looks like we're doing a great job. so.
I know.
Opportunities.
Opportunity, undeveloped land, did you get that? Was that under economic development?
Undeveloped land.
That's our open space.
No, it's zoned industrial, zoned commercial,
Oh,
but not
industrial.
developed.
So put industrial, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else we'd like to add? This isn't a definitive list. This is just the beginning, or the beginning of the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
As you go home, you're gonna think, oh, I know what to put on that.
yeah. There'll be
Well, that's
plenty of
write 'em
time.
down.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to think of something, and I can't capture it, but it's one thing we see on Concom all the time when we see the housing developments. And I think we actually have captured it, because one of the things I worry about is that the houses are spaced out and they all have these big yards, right? Which people like and they have every right to have. But I think that by capturing affordable housing, I think we could use some more housing that's what they call like smarter development.
Right, I
Where
think
you've got smaller
I-
lots and then maybe they have a shared playground or a shared open space.
I'd like to see moderately priced housing, too.
Yes, okay,
People who live in this town,
can't afford to
their
live here.
children can't afford to stay here.
No, you have to
Yeah.
hand down your house for 300
Right,
years.
right.
And that's
It's
a
all right if you
lot,
only have one kid.
a lot of that, unfortunately, what happens, you're forcing people out because of the tax base. They might own the house,
Yeah,
but they can't afford the taxes anymore. And that becomes a big issue.
yeah.
You have a fixed income, and I understand what you say, once taxes go up, they're up.
They're up.
But you're making Uncle Sam doesn't stay pace with the tax increases.
Nope.
So somebody's on a fixed income, and every year, your tax bill's getting higher, higher, and higher. Sooner or later, you're taxed out of where you were at.
Right, and these people aren't typically in large houses. I'm really talking
Right.
about, we have a lot of very large houses on very large lots. You're talking about people who are actually living well within their means, with the exception of the tax.
Well, they did years ago as well in their means. They could have a big house, but over the years, you own the house,
Yeah,
all right? So you work to pay off your house, but your taxes keep going up. You retire, you've done everything you're supposed to do, now you're taxed out of your
Yeah,
house.
your monthly taxes are more than what your mortgage used to be.
You better believe it.
oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that hurts a community, because what you're forcing now is, I'm gonna say your elders can't afford to live there no more.
Right.
They're being forced out. So the town is forcing out the elders just to bring in fresh blood and fresh money, is all that's
Well, the
happening.
problem is,
That's
where
a
they
vicious
go.
cycle.
When you say you force them out, where they go, there's no place that's any cheaper.
There's
You have
no
to-
place.
You have to move further out, or
Go to Idaho.
you force them into an apartment.
Right.
Right.
Force them out further and further and
That's the other
further.
thing, I'd like to see more elderly housing.
Yes.
We don't have
55
a
and
over
older.
55.
Yep,
Right.
housing and communities.
And you know what, part of the problem with elderly housing is today, is that disability, okay, you can get in there when you're young. Most people don't go into elderly housing till they're probably 75,
Okay.
80. So maybe they live 5, 6 years, and then they die, and then it opens up. Well, now that, you know, they consider disability, okay, can all get into the elderly housing. Well, a lot of them are only like 60 years old. They live for 25
They-
years.
and they're in there a lot
So nothing
longer.
opens up.
Well, and also, older people are living longer, right? People retired at 75 and expected to live to 85.
that's
People are
true.
living to 95, 100,
Right.
independently, not, they're not like,
But
So true.
most of them,
Yeah.
most of them don't go into the elderly housing until they're at. the
Until they're-
point
right.
They're starting to.
Yeah.
To break down a little.
But I
bit.
agree. I
That's
think that there should be-
assisted living.
What's that?
Assisted living.
Right, well.
well, that wouldn't be a
talking about.
bad opportunity either.
Not necessarily.
We don't have a
Assisted
facility in
living
this
is
town
good
that
too,
does
but just
that.
even elderly apartments.
But the 55 and older,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like the Linwood Mill.
Right.
They've got an elevator. for
Right.
People.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I have.
Right, but like a
But
new
it's
one
not
would be more
assisted living.
accessible.
Yeah, right, no, it's not assisted.
It's just there's no kids there, you got
Right.
55.
That would be opportunities.
Yeah,
I put a 55-plus bylaw in assisted living
I
facility.
mean, because with the recreation that we have, I would think that this would be a good place.
Well, you know what the recreation is now for the senior set, is that pickleball. You know?
Oh, wow.
Do you play?
No, I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. I'm not doing that.
So what else?
Let's talk a little bit about the downtown and
Okay.
what we like about it, what we don't like about it, where it can improve. Let's talk about that. So.
We
I
talked
think
about traffic.
Our downtown infrastructure, I think the buildings along the downtown are a strength. They're right on the sidewalk. They're kind of how they're supposed to be with apartments above. But there's obviously room for improvement there.
I think they're well maintained, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing.
I mean, somebody
They
just
boarded
noticed
up.
with the Old Diggers Liquor Store, that new place,
Oh,
that
that's
looks
beautiful.
fantastic.
You know, what is a vibrant downtown and what creates a vibrant downtown is the question I'd like to ask. You can go to some communities. I mean, it's about location in most cases, but if you go to, say, Falmouth or Lexington or Concord, they have stunningly vibrant downtowns. And when I mean vibrant, I mean foot traffic.
Right.
There's a lot of business, people want to be there, there's places to go. And this is just happenstance. My wife and I were downtown. It was in the middle of the day, middle of the week. And the downtown was crickets. There's
Oh, yeah,
nothing,
there's nothing
just
during the
nothing
day.
going on. You just got traffic whizzing by, nobody's on the sidewalk.
Right.
And you go to these other communities, and they are just hopping any day of the week. And my question was, what's the secret to a vibrant downtown?
Well, they are also more populated, right? So they have more people to go,
And their Main
But
Street is
there's an
longer than a tenth of
assortment
a mile.
of businesses.
probably, and they don't have
Right.
the.
What's our
right,
main street? Eateries.
Right, we
You
have,
take away the eateries off our
We
main
got nothing.
street, and it's,
Bookstore, library.
the library, I think, is doing a good job, and I think the bookstore's doing a good job. But then, like, Jenks Store is only open certain hours, because that's a historical,
Right.
and I think they're doing a great job, but it's not attracting people. People who are down there, if they're open, like it, enjoy it, but I mean, it's limited. I think I think the Jenks Store is an underutilized resource, because it is a nice building. And you're right, the other one, we have some offices. I think that there's a law office and a dentist,
Dentist's office
right? That typically, that's not an attraction
Right.
and a liquor store.
in a liquor store. So it's the type of businesses that we have downtown. It's hit or miss, right? The eateries are good, I think the bookstore's good, but
I'm gonna say, like for myself, the road's narrow. It's outdated. You go to most of these towns, they have just go to Oxford, Main Street.
Yeah.
And we're all about the same age town. Look at how wide open that place is.
Well, so
You have more space for people to do things.
But your
That-
buildings are not on the sidewalk either at Oxford.
Yeah.
Right.
no, they're further
Right.
back.
They'll-
You're looking at a 100-foot easement
They
versus
also
a 50-foot.
don't have
Correct.
a lot, they're not that busy downtown in Oxford either,
No,
unless you're looking at the
but-
Common.
What I'm getting at is,
There.
going through
It's a
town,
stand.
Right.
it's a very short downtown here.
It is short, and we don't have a downtown
You have a
common.
tenth of a mile,
Right.
and that's it.
We don't have a downtown common. So Oxford, the times that I've seen that town are busy downtown.
When the
are
common
they
has the
have-
shows,
They have the shows on the common twice a year. So Oxford has a weird bylaw where they don't allow you to have a yard sale unless it is on town yard sale day.
yep,
And so they have, twice a year, they have a townwide yard sale, and the church, I go to church there. The churches get
Yeah.
involved, they're doing
Yeah.
their tag sales or whatever, and then people can rent spots on the common, so that everybody's having their tag sale on the same day.
Yep.
Which, feel how you will about telling people that they can't have it on a
Yeah,
different
right,
day,
right, right.
but it does bring it, they're fostering activities, and they have the space to do it, they have the wider street, they have a lot of parking
Parking.
Yeah.
behind that community building, and we
Yes.
have improved that, right? We've got the parking behind the library, actually, that's all I can think of.
There is parking behind the post office.
And the parking behind the post office, but I mean, Oxford has a lot of parking associated with the businesses or on the street or around the, actually, you can't go all the way around that common, it looks like you can, but you can't. But yeah,
But-
in their community center, their old school is their community center, and it has a big parking lot behind it and a playground. We also don't have, we have a nice playground on Martin Road,
Yeah,
but we don't have anything downtown.
right.
There is one on North Street.
But there's one on North Street in the development that they
I
had to
never
put
see a
in.
kid there, ever.
I do, all
So
the
I'll bring
mine.
time,
I'll
yeah.
put no recreational opportunities
Yeah.
downtown.
there is none, because I know, like even coming home tonight, coming down Route 12, they have that big park out there by the entrance to 146. They have the soccer, tennis, volleyball, skateboard, and that place is usually packed.
Where is that?
So you head just out of Oxford a little bit,
Yeah.
going towards the post office, on the left-hand side, yeah, that big park.
Next to the community center.
No, so if you go up 395
Yep,
and get on
which exit?
Depot Street,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, over there.
Right there, that
Yep,
big
yep,
park?
yep, yep.
No, the
Yeah.
Greenbrier Park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
yeah.
place is packed.
Yep, they have a, not Greenbrier, but they have another park now that has the disc golf course too.
Oh, do they?
They have a new disc golf course in Oxford, not just Buffum, so they usually have Buffumville and Hodges, which are big courses that people are very familiar with. But they have a small one in Oxford now that people really like, that they find it accessible.
But it's a place for the kids to go.
Yeah.
Want to have a couple volleyball games or
Yeah,
do whatever, it's a place to go.
yeah.
But
use it.
circling back to the downtown,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be unkind, but I think you go downtown Douglas because you have to, but not because you want to.
Right, there's two banks.
It's not a destination.
Nobody's going to the bank for fun, or the dentist.
So what makes those communities attractive?
And
That
even the
that attracts that downtown foot traffic?
restaurants
Because
that
when you do that, you're helping the businesses downtown
definitely.
by increasing that foot traffic.
Right.
So it'll be an opportunity to implement a complete streets study
Yeah.
from CMRPC.
And try to get people, we don't really have any empty buildings though downtown.
No, they're just buildings that we don't go to
I mean,
because we want
it's
to.
not like.
Like
you
even
go
the
in-
pizza, nobody sits and eats the pizza, they order it and take
Right.
home.
I
Yes.
mean, you go in
There's
some
nothing- it
towns
does-
and there's a lot of
That's
open
right.
storefronts.
Right.
We don't really have open storefronts.
We have the ability, it's just right now they're occupied by businesses, thank goodness, right? Thankfully, they're not unoccupied. I mean, I've definitely seen towns that have unoccupied buildings downtown too.
Very
Like
true.
Webster, and that's very depressing to look.
Very true.
Right.
So
But-
there's that.
You made a good point about taking your pizza home. There's no really al fresco dining or things that
No,
you
I
would
do
enjoy
wanna
when you
sit
go to
next to where I eat
communities
my
like
pizza.
that.
Right.
Maybe we should
I
do
think-
something about outside.
There are, yeah. Well, I mean,
You know,
there are,
Even, let them set up a
Trees
few little
downtown.
tables and do some outside.
there are not many.
That's what I'm saying.
No, they got too old and died.
Well, plant new ones.
Right, but then you have to
think
put them in a
that's an
space where they're going to have room to grow without ripping out the sidewalk too, right?
Oh, what, the trees?
That's the problem, there's no room for
Yeah.
trees downtown.
No, because
You-
everybody
you
turned them into
destroy the
parking lots.
roads.
There used to be a
No,
nice big
no.
tree behind the library, and we use that for parking. And I'm not telling you one is good or bad. I was sad to lose the tree, but I'm glad to have the parking behind the library.
There was a huge one at the corner where the Congregational Church is, and I remember when they cut that down, I said, that tree's gotta be 150 years old. It was that big around.
Yeah,
And I went and I'm counting it, it was only 75 years old, but it must have gotten all of the sun
Must
and
have grown
gotten all the
real
water
fast.
and grew like crazy.
yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. There
I
isn't
think
shade
trees would
trees.
bring people.
There's not a park.
Yeah.
There's not a park and there's not a typical common. There's just the front lawn of Second Congregational, which
Correct.
is not bad, but it's not,
Right,
it's great for Oktoberfest, but it's not a park that somebody would play Frisbee in.
right.
Like the
right.
Martin Road ballpark. You think, you don't see it from the road. It looks
I
like
had no
a
idea it
private
existed until
park,
somebody put it
you
online
know,
and said that
nobody
they
can just
redid
go
it.
up there. I think there was even a playground up
But-
There is a place, and somebody went and cleaned it up and repaired
Oh, yeah?
there was a post
But
online.
nobody would know,
Somebody took their
you know?
kid there, realized it was in disrepair. He owned a landscaping company, free of charge. He cleaned up all the landscaping, got all the leaves out of there, put in mulch, fixed, like had somebody re-weld a broken picnic table
Yeah.
for free, just because his kid plays there. And other people volunteered to help him. He's like,
Yeah.
nope, that's fine. I'm willing to keep this up for free because this is a great asset that our town has that we're underutilizing. But kids don't go to play there because you got to drive, you got to put your kid in the car seat and drive him up there to play there. Because I have a toddler that loves parks, but I don't live close to the park, which is also my own fault, right? I don't live
Well, you know,
downtown.
one of the other things that I've heard a few mothers say about that one is it's secluded
Yep.
and they don't feel super safe there.
Safe.
I'd be by myself. Oh, no, and I would want to go with another parent with
Yeah,
other
and
children. I wouldn't want to go by myself with my
That's one of the things that I've
kid.
heard mothers say. Now, fathers will go in and they don't have those fears,
Nope.
you know, but women do.
On your opportunities,
Well, yeah,
at least I
I've heard mothers say
think,
that.
It's good.
underused opportunity is Soldier Field.
Yep.
That's not publicized enough, not marked out enough. I never knew about it. I mean, unless you're in town, nobody knows what Soldier Field is. It's a
Is
stinking
it locked
ballpark.
up? I mean, there's a fence around it.
I think that with the history, with the Sox and the Yankees
I
being
got
there and
my
that.
shirt on tonight.
There you go.
Red Sox versus
But the idea
Yankees.
is, you're talking about what makes a town or a community, you promote that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never in my life heard that ever being promoted.
Oh, I heard it, I always get those, whenever time I go to Jenks store, I hear about
Ah,
Red Sox
there you
versus
go.
Yankees.
But nobody goes downtown. So
Yeah.
where do you hear about it? How do you find out about it?
I know.
You don't.
I
It's
thought there was
almost like
somebody
it's a
who was,
private
who was trying to shoot
park.
a movie at
They
Soldier
did.
Field.
I think they did.
But,
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of these movies, they shoot them, but they never go anywhere. I know they rented, my neighbors, they rented all of their cottages, and they were up there for weeks shooting this movie.
Yeah.
My son was out there with my pontoon boat for hours helping them film, and they never went anywhere.
Oh, that's too bad.
But I mean, I think it's, and I don't know if they can or they can't, with the history with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever gone and talked to them, the Red Sox themselves? Said, hey, we have a field here you played on. Can you help us maybe restore it or bring it back or promote it or do anything like that?
Well,
You never know.
you don't have a lot of parking for that either.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
And you can't get there without crossing yet another one of those narrow bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
So-
We had plenty of capacity back then when the Sox played the Yankees. We
So,
didn't have
so
as many
weakness,
people.
Right.
no Red Sox in town?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a problem.
you know that when they had the 250th anniversary, Johnny Pesky was here and Bobby Doe was here.
Yeah, I read it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So anything else for our list here, people? We've got quite an extensive list so far. And we could spend all night in just a few of these. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I know.
threats,
But this is good for CMRPC to get.
on threats,
Ideas.
I'm gonna say dead trees and dead limbs,
Well, you
Yeah,
get-
the oak trees all got
especially
eaten up.
Gypsy moths.
right?
The gypsy moth's got a lot of.
You have to drive around this town with your eyes looking up,
Yeah,
not in front.
Especially if it's windy.
yeah.
Yep,
And then the
And I-
trout we had, what, 3 years ago?
Yep.
yeah.
Get 'em in.
The
The
state took a
gypsy
lot
moths
of care, a
weakened
lot of
them,
theirs, and we should do
drought
the
got
same.
'em.
Yeah.
And I understand the Wharton has a small budget, but, and they're doing a fantastic job with what he has. But I think that's a big danger and threat to everybody, kids, people driving, people on bikes.
Electricity, they do
Oh, yeah.
trim.
There you go, takes the power out, yeah.
And we should be thinking about, like, if we wanted to replace some of those trees, right? That's something we always bring up with Concom, if there's space, if there's room to replace the tree, make sure you're using a species that's hardier to climate change, to there's new beetles and bugs killing all the ash trees now, those are gonna be the next to go. And if you decide to replace, if you're in a place that's scenic and you wanna replace the tree, make sure you're getting something that's native, but it's gonna be hardy enough that you're not gonna be doing this again.
Matt, before we start losing people, if we could just keep
Yeah.
it for a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd just like to interrupt it. Interesting conversation. I think we could go on for hours. How often would you like to meet, is what I want to ask, so we can, before we lose you, so we can set up our next meeting.
I don't know what's, like, how much work do you want us to do on our
Once
own
a month?
individually
Twice a
between
month?
meetings?
I was thinking once a month until we started going through this.
That's what I
Or in
was
the
thinking.
beginning,
I'm thinking twice a month.
maybe in the beginning, twice a month, until things maybe get
Yeah.
established.
Sure,
Get some of the rough work done,
yeah.
and if it's looking good, then the CMRPC and maps, and then maybe go once a month.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, when you have a proper master plan, because a master plan is where we are today and where you want to be, say, 20 years from now. If you have a properly put together master plan, that helps you get grants and funding for a lot of these projects, too. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons we may be in line for funding is because of what the Master Plan Implementation Committee did as part of their final report. Because most people do a master plan, it sits on a shelf, it collects dust.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we didn't do that. They spent 9 years implementing this. So all we had to do was pull out that report and give it to CMRPC, and it was more than they needed.
Right.
Well,
Right
my
there.
two grants, my $4 million MassWorks grant and the 3.3 federal EDA grant, the questions referenced the master plan. That was
Okay.
one of the questions for economic development.
It's
So
a great
it does
tool.
help.
Yeah.
Do you still think 7 is a good time, or do you want to go 6?
I think we should meet one more time in April, and then start in May, once the funds
Yeah.
hopefully are approved at town meeting.
Well, did you want to meet twice a month, at least initially, we said?
I would think, to knock out a few things in the beginning,
Sure. Well, 2
and
weeks,
then once it calms down, then go once a month.
okay.
And
2 weeks from tonight is April 3rd, Wednesday, April 3rd, if the space is available.
Is this Wednesday?
No,
Today's Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday, sorry, yeah, 2
First
weeks.
Wednesday is
April
zoning
3rd is
board.
also Wednesday.
Yeah,
and
the
I-
zoning board will be in here,
And then
that's
I've got
right.
finance committees on Tuesdays, and that's until we have the town meeting, then we,
Concom's Mondays.
It's kind of where we fell into this third Wednesday, because it was open.
right?
Well,
How
let's,
about Thursdays? Because Thursdays is wide open. That used to be planning board, second and fourth.
Right.
They're now Wednesday, second and fourth. Zoning board is first Wednesday.
so maybe the first Thursday in April?
I'm thinking first Thursday in April.
Okay.
Okay,
That's April 4th, Matt? We can check and see if it's available?
Sure.
We're about April 4th.
Yeah. At 7 or,
Tentatively until
Should
it's
we
confirmed.
Make it like 7, 6:30 or so, I don't know, 7?
I can do 6:30, yeah.
I mean, I don't.
I mean, we've
we
got
have
so much work to
children,
do.
I have one, and
And
unfortunately,
she's gotta
her
leave at
bedtime
8.
is 7, so
Yeah.
that's,
So that's-
now her bedtime is, I have missed many a Concom meeting because
Wanna go
bedtime starts at 7 and goes until
Yeah.
8:30 sometimes, right? I spend the entire hour and a half.
you're saying 7's better for you?
You're
I
driving
could
in,
do
so
6
keep it
better,
at
honestly, 'cause
Oh,
then I'd be
all right.
missing dinner instead of bedtime.
Anyone have an objection? Is 6 too early?
6 is too early, I wouldn't be able to make it, I work in Boston.
Okay. What time would you be available?
Earliest I could do is probably 6:45.
What's the consensus for time?
I mean, I'm flexible. I mean, I
Well, we
work,
could do 7. You know what, too, the thing too now is the days are staying later and everything, so.
Yeah.
We'll get
Everybody's
into the
up later.
West
If we
Coast.
start at 6, we might be to midnight. It's a 6-hour meeting.
Yeah.
7, by 9, we're ready to leave.
7, we'll start at 7.
Okay, that's fine.
And then we can always amend that, we can change
Yeah, I
it,
was
so
going to say,
thank
if you
you.
asked me for my ideal time, it would be Saturday at 1 o'clock.
There you go.
Right.
See?
Can't be based around.
So tentatively, 7 o'clock, April 4th, Thursday, April 4th. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
thank you.
Are we
safe.
good with this, or?
Yeah, I'll take a picture.
All right, I'm going to put it in tentatively for the 4th, and we'll see what happens, right?
Yep. So, I know you're taking minutes,
Go ahead.
Linda. If this could all be forwarded to other members, this
Yeah.
will give us food for thought between now and 2 weeks from tonight. And you can come with your questions, comments, concerns, and we can grow this list and continue.
I didn't bring my phone.
Well, I think it's been documented, right? Matt documented it, so we'll get something from this. I just want to thank you for your participation. We're hoping there are going to be other people who will be joining us. And also because we wanted some at-large members from the community who aren't
Yes.
members of a commission board committee. And I think it was just, we rounded out that there were 3 wards, so we're going to ask 3 members of the community. So if anybody's watching and you're interested, then they would contact Matt or
Yes.
Matthew in the Community Development Department.
I have a question. Because we're a committee, do we need to get appointed and sworn in?
No, we're a subcommittee of the
Subcommittee.
planning board.
Subcommittee of the planning board, okay.
Yep.
One of the things that I would like to bring up, though, is you said that the last master plan we did was in 1998. That's when we started. The plan
Right.
was actually done 2007, so we're not as far away from it
Okay.
as what you think.
Well, it's 2 parts.
Right,
There was the study committee, which created the master plan
right,
in 2008.
Right.
And then 9 years for the implementation committee.
right, I guess.
So, and some of you stayed on through the
Right.
implementation
Because I think
committee.
we got a lot of stuff done.
Oh,
Did you get the final report?
I
Of
got,
course,
on that, Matt, just one thing
Did you get
I
that?
just thought of.
it's online.
And I don't know whether you want to call it a weakness or a threat. The way our zoning map is designed now, from years ago, they just went and said, go 200 feet and make a line.
Right,
So now you got lots that are partial
You're right.
commercial,
You're
partial
absolutely right.
residential. Nothing was, and I know the lot lines can change,
right,
but we've had it in the planning board
Yeah.
in the past where, well, I'm commercial here, but I'm not here, what can I do?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have enough commercial.
yeah,
So now you're making somebody,
right,
it's almost like a split map
right.
going through the town.
Because I've looked at that.
And it has affected
Yeah,
places and people.
right,
It was one person wanted to take out buy a property, and they weren't allowed because there was like 22 feet of commercial on their land.
Yeah.
Because of the way the map was made.
right.
So I had to go in front of it. It took a process to get that all gone, and that shouldn't happen to people.
Right.
It should be on a line.
Yeah.
But I think that the zoning, that was all passed at a town meeting, all the
Yeah.
lines and everything. It wasn't just drawn up by.
Right.
I mean,
Right, but when I'm getting at
It had to be
though,
approved at a
when we're
town
looking
meeting.
at opportunities and we're looking at weaknesses, that has been a hindrance, and I'm seeing it personally.
Then it has to go to town meeting.
You know what?
Right.
Oh, I agree, it had to go.
But what it is
Right.
if it's a recommendation or whatever in this document,
But
it could also help it.
you were right when you said it was passed at town meeting. But when you say it just didn't come up like that, oh, no, it came up exactly how he's saying.
Oh, I know
In the
that the
1970s,
problem.
they took them out. They-
Yeah.
That's
In
right.
the 1970s, when they brought zoning in, you didn't even know where any of the lots were.
They weren't created yet.
Not even if they were, people's pieces where they knew, the town had no idea where anything was. There was, you know, you
Yeah.
go down, you can say, that there was none of that in 1970.
Right.
Yeah.
None of it.
And all they did was take, yeah, we're gonna go here,
They just
they
had
drew a
the
line and
things,
said, that's it.
And that's what they did.
And
I mean, they did the best they could at the time because they had no way of knowing even where the lots were.
So we
you
should
ask
note that, we should really revisit the zoning map. And I think they did last time, and I think some changes were made to the zoning map
Well,
at the time.
we-
But you're right,
yes,
because what
it's
happened was,
something
they said, we
they
need
voted
zoning.
Yeah,
This is here,
that's
this is
what they
here.
did. Right.
well, and when the process of all this, you want growth, economic,
Right.
development.
Right.
Well, if your map doesn't work with you, how do you do all that?
Right.
Yes.
You need to have this to make that happen.
So we need to revisit the map.
And I think we
Yeah.
need to find a way, and I have no idea how one would do that, to encourage, I call it workforce housing, or moderately priced housing. You know, these $700,000 houses are wonderful to look at, but, you know, the people who are the backbone of this town can't afford them.
And that is a real issue, because we need to meet the state's requirement of 10%. Is it moderate and
That's
low
me,
income,
Carol.
or just moderate?
Well, that's
For the 10%.
affordable.
Yeah.
The other thing too is what people, they hear affordable and they go, oh, they hear
Thank you.
Great Brook Valley is coming. A lot of the people,
Four of them, and
the
then
people who
the whole
scream the
board,
most at
and
it
then
might
we
be
got
in the
individual
affordable range
homes.
themselves.
And it's not just affordable
Yeah.
housing
Right.
developments, it's people buying smaller homes. I'm not in an affordable, I have a 24 by 24 home
Right.
on an acre.
Well, the problem
And
is,
that's small, it's one story.
the problem
You know?
is that because of the fact that, first off, in the 80s, they doubled the size of every lot. They took, Riversville came through and took off like 20% of all the buildable land in town, in the state. So you continue to get a smaller thing, so your average lot now is going 150, 160,000.
That's- you said it.
Before it's even touched, before it's even touched. The engineering on it alone is going to cost you more than what it cost to put the whole septic
Well,
system
the
in
the
50
price
years
of the
ago.
land will never go down. I'm talking about the house
Well,
itself.
I
But the
don't
idea is
necessarily say that. If you
The
can
price
put
of the
a-
land, nobody's
more
gonna build
density-
on it if they can't make money. You
Right.
can't make money
You're not gonna-
on a 1,500 square foot ranch.
That's right.
You have to build a big house.
You can't
So-
on a $150,000 lot. But
Right.
if you allowed 3 houses on that lot, now you could do it.
And now you're building 5 more schools, and watch your taxes go up.
But are you building
and then
5
you
more
can't afford to
schools
live
when
there.
we've gone down 500 kids, 25%? We're down more than 25% on our kids.
No.
People are not having kids.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm not just thinking, that's the statistics.
one of
You go and find out why are we down 500 kids? When we bought all these, when we bought all these houses.
Max, what are the
500
stats
kids.
for the schools?
So
They're
one of the
down
issues, if we
Probably
could-
25, I've heard 25%
Yeah.
under capacity right
I
now.
thought it was.
So
yeah,
we should
about
probably-
500 kids.
Yeah.
That would put you at like.
Yeah, we want to try to keep it to one conversation if we
Yeah,
could.
Over the past.
We're
2
down
years.
32% on the
Up
schools?
Just about 25, 32% down
Yeah.
on the schools.
I knew it was over
But it's-
25%.
But that's a flexible number.
Is that
But no,
because they're
just
going to a
circling
different
back,
school?
circling back
No,
to your,
it's- the population of our town has aged considerably
Right.
over the last 20 or so
Well, then the
years.
school that we built,
It's
It's
gonna be
good for a while.
A long
A
time.
long
thank God we built it when we did. We were
Well,
thinking
but we have
ahead.
to,
We don't need more kids to fill it.
The thing is, though, that it costs us as much to maintain that big school, and then we get money back from the state for every kid that we get. People don't realize that. When they think of how much it costs to educate a kid, yeah, okay, but then they forget all the money we get back from the state, and we only get it back per kid.
Chapter 70 money, I think.
Yeah, so,
The problem I have with the low-income housing is that it has to be subsidized. And how do you fund that?
see, that's the thing. I don't think it has to be subsidized. For one thing, when they do the Chapter 40, okay, what they do is that you have to make 10% of it affordable. So if you can increase the density, now you're getting more people on the lot. And so basically, the people who are buying the rest of the houses at the market rate are paying for the affordable one, because there's no way you can build a house for the price of that affordable one.
The-
So that's how they do that.
On that aspect, though, the reason, and I'm gonna say myself, I came out here is, I don't want 3 houses on that one lot. I want that area, I want that land.
Yep, that's
And
how
the-
you want to live.
Right, but what I'm getting at is, that's what brings people out here, if you know what I'm saying. If you
The
want to do
rural
that,
character.
Right.
if you want to do that, which is it's needed, then we need to find areas where that can be done,
Right, oh, I agree.
you know?
You need to zone some areas for higher density.
The problem is if you don't fix the issue of low-income housing,
Yeah.
the state can issue a permit superseding all our zoning.
Oh,
And then, you
we've
know,
already said that, absolutely. They
So,
don't have to come through the boards at all?
so I agree that we have that rural feel and that, and it's because it's an open area. That's what attracted me to the
Right.
community. Even downtown, you're talking acre, half-acre lots still. But we still have to meet that quota, and this might be the time to talk about and see how we could do it so it accommodates everyone. We can keep open space, but we can also accommodate people who really can't afford,
Right.
you know, $80,000, $800,000 houses, you know?
But the thing is, too, that when those are the only people you have in the $800,000 houses, they're not the people that are doing the work, okay? I spent my life building affordable housing, okay, or moderately priced housing. I can tell you, people that work for this town, I built their house, they're town employees, policemen, the highway department, the fire department, the school teachers. I built houses for all those people. I couldn't do it now because I can't bring in a house at the price that they.
But see, every action is a reaction. You want affordability. We have a stretch code now.
Yeah.
You just added 10 grand to every house you
yeah.
want to build.
Oh, you're right.
So
You're absolutely
when
right.
it's almost hypocritical where you want this, but then we pass laws to do this.
Right.
Which takes this away.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't, you got to look at the whole picture.
Yep,
So when you want to do all that, that's all well and good.
you're right,
But if everybody keeps passing laws to increase the cost of building that house,
right.
it ain't going to happen.
Well, every new house has to have an EV charger, even if you don't
The
have an
latest
electric
Curtis
car.
rating
Right.
came in quick. It just, they passed it in December to go in January. There was absolutely no input from the Board of Building, the building
Yeah.
inspectors. There was no input from them. There were no input from developers. It was all passed by environmentalists, and it went through.
Yeah.
And they don't, there was no idea what's this going to cost, how can this even be accomplished? The things that they came up with, how do you really accomplish it?
But I mean, on the affordable, to make things affordable, the reason they're not is by actions of people years ago. It's not, we can try now, but now everybody's trying to fall over actions of those people because they made it so costly to do work. You took the affordability right out of it.
Well, the cost of housing has exceeded the cost of living. This is the cost of living, right? And the cost of
Right.
housing's like this.
And a lot of it's because of zoning, permits,
It
and the
is.
way that it's all handled.
I mean, a person years ago, they could, one job. I came from a family, my father worked for
Yeah,
General Motors, and we had a house and went on vacation and had new cars.
Yes, sir.
That was one modest income.
correct.
Can't do that today.
No.
And then there's no pulling yourself up by your bootstraps today either. I can remember, and I'm old, but I can remember when people would put in a foundation, and they would live in the foundation
Yeah.
for a while they built a house.
Sure did.
If you did that, the world would come to an end,
Yeah. So, and there again, that comes down to people years ago changed the rules.
Right,
Well, you can't do that.
Right.
Well, you could slowly build your house.
Yeah.
Slowly do this.
right. It's always.
They took it all away because they were afraid to look at it. And that's what
Right.
changed it all.
I know it.
So when you do that, we're looking at the consequences of it now.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, the whole state is in tough shape for housing.
So one of the requirements we have as a green community is we have to follow the Stretch Energy Code and report the HERS rating of our homes as part of our annual report.
Yeah.
One town in Massachusetts, Rochester, Mass., recently stepped away from the green community status. They voted at town meeting to dissolve their green community status because the Stretch Energy Code improvements is making housing or the
Unaffordable.
municipal projects just way too expensive for them.
Yes.
So they are the first town, and this was in November of last year, that first town to leave the Green Communities project. And the building inspector brought this to my attention because now we're talking about in July, the Stretch Energy Code's being updated again,
Yeah.
and builders aren't going to be able to afford it.
Correct. Well,
No,
if the
builders-
builders can't afford it, then people trying to buy it can't afford it.
Right, exactly.
Right,
Builders were against the first one in the first place,
right.
Correct.
They-
with no input.
So that might be something to consider is,
Because, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I understand the theory and principle behind it, but the idea is if you own the land, you want to build a house, I look at it, it's your right. You want to build it your way, I want to build it my way. I want to have 10-inch walls, you want a 2x4 wall. 2x4 wall's been standing since the beginning of time. I haven't seen one fall down. So the idea is when it's forced down your throat, you force the cost down everybody's throat.
Well, the other thing too with the green communities that they find in Summertown is a lot of them are being forced into buying more expensive vehicles.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So it's coming back to bite them. They say, we're going to give you all this stuff if you could become a green community. Then when you turn around and you're going to buy a cruiser and you're going to pay 3 times as much for it as what you would have to.
Right.
Oh, wait
Yeah.
a minute. Wait a minute, all that money we got isn't covering what we need here.
And that's where I think this year moving forward, because times are changing fast.
Yeah.
Like you say, looking forward, there's a lot to really look at.
Yes.
Because it's changing every day.
And you can't always anticipate those changes.
No, you
No,
can't.
you
No,
can't.
I know, if I had a crystal ball, I'd be down at Foxwoods.
I'd be with you.
One last comment I want to make is, when you talk about housing and growth, we kind of focus on schools' capacity.
Right.
We have to think about water sewer capacity, too. The sewer station, I'm going to say it's probably half capacity.
Yeah.
Water, we're almost at capacity, where we have to go for another extension.
Right, but when you say we're at capacity of what they'll let us take.
Exactly.
It's not a capacity
But
of
it's
what
a
we have
two-year
available.
process
Yeah.
to get that
Right.
increase. So we have to be smart
Right.
about where we put these developments.
Right.
Caswell Court is a perfect example. It's within the public water supply.
Right.
That will put us at capacity.
Yeah. That project hasn't been forward yet. They submitted
It
to
hasn't.
ANRAD, but it's,
But we
gonna-
know it's coming.
yep. I don't even know what it's going to be yet. All we know is that they flagged it. We don't know what
I
sort
thought it
of
was,
housing.
I thought it was solar,
No,
a long
Caswell,
time ago. The Carter Farm, right?
Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, Carter's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought, a long time ago, I heard it was going to be solar.
No,
Well,
I
I don't
heard
think
housing
that's-
now.
I heard housing, I'm just not sure
No.
what style housing, or if it's a flex
I
development.
mean, we're redesigning Upper North Street right now, but we're already planning on we create water loops for pressure, just
Yeah.
like electricity.
Yep.
This end goes down, we can backfeed the system for reliability. We're already extending the 12-inch water mains into those side streets, which will connect into the Caswell.
So the water's fed from two different directions, correct?
Yes,
Which is great. And you're adding sidewalks, as I understand it,
yep.
which I know the community.
Full length, 5,500 feet, right to the Sutton Town line,
With the, yeah, if we get the grant, right?
if we get the Mass Works grant, which
Right.
I'm working on right now.
So any final thoughts, comments, considerations?
I think it's
we
going to
had-
be fun.
Yeah, I did
I think we're going to
too.
have a good crew,
I did too.
you know?
Linda, should we
anybody
take
missing
pictures
that,
of all
or is there-
this right now?
Matt,
We'll
is
be down
anybody
to
missing,
3.
or has everybody been invited
No,
here?
it's
I think we're missing a
coming
few.
in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's still some folks missing, but we really need a representative from the school committee.
Still nothing?
Huh, wow.
Wow,
It'd be
'cause
really
we brought
nice.
that up
It'd be really nice to have.
months ago.
I will be meeting with the school committee to discuss the old grammar school, and I will ask them at that time. So hopefully we'll get a volunteer to join us.
I would think was it 73% of the budget is school?
It's, yeah, about that.
Yeah,
I would think that there should be a representative where they're getting everybody's money.
Yes.
Or even
Whether they
people
wanna
from
be
the
here or
public
not.
that have
Right.
kids in school, right? People are allowed to come in and sign up and
Yeah.
join up, right?
Yes.
They're trying to
Yeah,
get
we're going to
people.
try to have 3 at large. And
Yeah.
people can always attend meetings and.
Oh, only
and-
3?
Yeah.
yeah, but people can attend meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, if they have
True.
something to say, we'll
Public,
be
it's a
glad to
public
hear it.
meeting.
Yeah.
Because you never know who has good ideas out there.
That's right.
You know,
I mean, the more thought,
right.
the more input, the better off we are.
Yep.
Sure.
I mean, it's community, it's everybody.
Exactly,
You know, whether you're on Main Street,
right.
Sutton Line, Connecticut Line, everybody has different things and different issues and problems.
It was a great conversation. I enjoyed it, certainly. Any final thoughts, comments? We adjourn? Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All those in favor? Oh, a second? I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.